Righto, welcome to our first Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board meeting for 2025. It feels like a lifetime ago since we last had a meeting, so it's nice to see everybody back around the table. We'll open with a karakia, tīmatanga, mā te whakapono, mā te tūmanako, mā te tiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahi tahi, mā te whakamomori, mā te aroha, ka taia e mātou. By believing and trusting, by having faith and hope, by looking and searching, by listening and hearing, by working and striving together, by shared desire and determination, by all being done with compassion, we will succeed. Okay, so we will move straight into our apologies. So we have an apology for non-attendance from Councillor Thomas. So can somebody please move that? Lou, seconded Jill. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item 2 is a disclosure of members' interests. Not a huge agenda, so is there any conflict of interest for anything on the agenda tonight? No, all good. So now we'll move into item 3, which is our public forum, and we have 2 participants tonight. Mark, we'll start off with you, seeing as you've got a bit of a presentation there. So thanks, Mark, welcome. And I presume that you're seeing us, is it in regard to the seats? No?
This is following on from back in November.
Okay.
Some top-ups for heritage sign information, etc.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Away you go. All yours.
One of the items discussed back in November was the Dawson Place sign. Now, it's a special part of the Yardley donation just off the netball court's end. Now, this most recent sign is a little bit of a failure in that it's a bit simple and modest, and just some basic things there. It says that she spent hours assisting with the landscaping and planning, but in actual fact, it was more like decades, maybe even 3 or 4. The Beautifying Society was really prominent in the day. Harbour days were really big then. They'd go and teach at schools and have plantings, and got big involvements with things like keeping Anzac Green up to scratch and venues, various venues, schools. But there's so much that they did for Memorial Park in particular, and they even got an area around the netball courts in 48 all prepared so well that it became an example for Gibbs' plan as to what the rest of the park could be like. Now, these articles can all be expanded on, but I won't do that here. There's not enough time. But the most significant thing was that after a couple of decent floods, it was the need for the footbridge that end was postponed, and Marion died in 65, just prior to seeing Smart, just after seeing Smart begin to tidy that area up after the stream realignment, destroyed all that project around the netball courts. And Alf eventually rebuilt it according to his plan. And I'd covered some of that last in November. But some of the very interesting things for me was that the Beautifying Society actually started the town's first civic rose garden, and it happened in Selwyn Park in 49. They wanted what's now is the rose garden, but the army there eventually thought to swap land with the council for some other place for offices. But in March, they landed Selwyn Park, or part of it, and established a rose garden there with hundreds and hundreds of roses, and apparently some permanent seats and 2 arches. I wonder what that looked like. So there was a lot to Marion's input. Now, that area that Dawson places on is, of course, part of the Yardley donation, and all these areas interrelate. So heritage signs should also cross over a bit. Now, it's interesting to see that the Parks Management Manual has in it that the park was vested to the council. But that's not quite right. And later in the document, it says that in 65, the Yardleys donated that land, but they actually donated it or promised it in 50. By 51, had well, they set it aside in 50, but by 51 it promised it, and that was enough for the subsidy rules, as long as the promise was made before 53. But it was actually put in investment in 55, as you'll see at the bottom of that certificate, but it was vested in the mayor, councillors and citizens. So those are the people to consult. Despite it being a permanent memorial with conditions for perpetual maintenance, those are the people to check with. And that wasn't done with the plan to start with. Now, one thing that came up when Peter Fletcher asked that the issue of vestment be dealt with, it hadn't really been dealt with. Instead, it focused on ownership. Now, there's a thing called Snapshot in the Waipa District website. You click on the section here. This is a web page, and it lights up and gives you information. This one says it's a war memorial park, but that's not over the street. The Yardley donation, look, it's got recreational reserve. Now, if you go to the Lynn's department, which either you click on, they both light up and both say Memorial Park. So I think that should be remedied after all the fuss that we went over there two years ago. Now, the other thing about the Yardley donation is it was meant to be a destination for these commemorative footbridges. And we've got permission from the Department of Culture and Heritage, who look after the NZA, New Zealand Armed Forces properties, intellectual properties and flags and protocols. The Army is actually just a New Zealand flag for an ensign. And when we first looked at these content for a plaque or a sign on the footbridges, that was in 21. And I wasn't aware that there was actually a sentiment at that time buried in all the pages. We just assumed, I did anyhow, that it was really perhaps for those who served, given how prominent the cross is. So there's a quote, and I've covered that before, but you mightn't have seen as a tidy example. Now, with the plan that the RSA partnered with Mana Whenua, the art panels are too big for the Navy footbridge there of Mutu Street. It just don't fit even on the approach. But these would be just 370 wide and spanning 4 of those vertical pipes. It certainly fit on the Navy footbridge there. And by the way, that would answer the question raised by the Hui last, where someone had homework to determine just to what extent is the park the memorial. It just so happens that this sentiment, where the names were sought, this was something they were sent to get names and keep in mind, that the park is a recognition. Now, that is to scale. Those art panels would fit there exactly. I think this is the first time they've been screened at this meeting, but they'd look just like that. They fit symmetry-wise good. There's 2 spare rails each end, 6 in total. So there is an alternative that doesn't impinge on the desired memorial for that commemorative footbridges, or either of the 3. Now, concerning that PO, I find it unsettling that all of the proposal kept repeating the PO marks the site. of Kaupaka Park, because there had been from the Iwi Consultative Committee a culture statement made for pipe works in the area of Kaupaka Park. Well, I think it was Mangapiko Street. And near the end, there was an issue that researchers and whatnot were often referring to the netball court south of the Mangaui stream as Kaupaka Park. And they deter that from occurring here, that across the stream should not be referred to as Kaupaka Park in any documentation. And a po would be along those lines, surely, because the proposed one is south of the stream. Now, off of Racecourse Road, there is access into this nice little area that's cheap as chips. Just put a natural path in, and there within the gap of that hook of the red line is the actual remnant of Kaupaka Park. So a po could go there. There's talk of a bus. The bus could park in what could be referred to as Kaupaka Car Park and become part of the same facility. Maybe a footbridge over there, do you see at the bottom right? And actually visit a remnant of the park with the po there. Here's that first section in, it's nicely planted. The path side itself at the top is further to the left, and the bottom section, the path side is further forward. Here it is in, was this 63? This shows Kaupaka Park's puna. At the centre left, it looks to me like a pool that might have been artificially dug. At the very left, you can see the original stream bends. It bends there tightly heading for the intersection of Tawhio and Racecourse Road, but it's now straight. Here it is on the modern map. There's this, they're referring to a seepage area there, but that's actually the middle of what was the stream. I'm thinking it might be because Puna has blocked this pipe here. That's a pipe, that dark splodge, full of sand, but the water forces its way out. Maybe it's leaching out to cause that seepage area. Now, finally, to the walkway on Selwyn Park is, what is that called? No, not the Pioneer Walk, the with all the posing, the Walk of Fame, yeah, the Walk of Fame. Now it reads, when the town was named, it marked the upper limit of the Waipa River, able to be navigated by paddle steamers when the town was named. I only just noticed that the other day. It's been there for years. The only thing I could find that remotely backed that up was this article from July 37, where indeed Awamutu, being the situation of as far you could go upstream, had, which occurs all over New Zealand, was noted when people would meet the terminal end of Puna and maybe come up with Mangapiko, it suggests there. Just that one. But the Awamutu that is being downplayed is this one. In 1839, Reverend Ashwell persuaded 200 Maori Rongapai Christian to abandon their pa of the Tawhio and their rangatia chief and the way of life there and form a new pa for Christ at Awamutu, which was later founded as the mission station there because he was given all of the grounds that are now the mission station, or were the mission station. Here's the Awamutu Pa, the third Black Lodge up. Hand sketch map from 1860. Here's a very well done sketch. It's past the peaked roof on the right. The mission house was built a few years after 39 when Morgan was there. Morgan took over in 41 This is the plaque outside the information centre. It only refers to Morgan and doesn't say anything about Ashwell. And another interesting thing I found was across at St. John's, here's a soldier who died of his wounds, and he died at Awamutu, not at the Otafio garrison, but he died at Awamutu. And 11 months later, here's one that died at Te Awamutu in 65. Bit of a transition there. I don't know what the story is, but they knew where they were from. They were from Awamutu.
Mark, sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt, but just mindful of the time and we've still got Bernard to go, so.
This is the last image.
Cool, thank you.
So what I'm proposing is another Walk of Fame Poe. This one featuring Reverend Ashwell and his story as the founder of Te Awamutu, by founding Awamutu on the 30th of July, 1839. And this Poe marks the site of Awamutu Pa, factually, just a stone throw from there. And that's it.
Cool, lots of interesting things in there, Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Just in regard to Ashwell being recommended for a PO, when we call for, there's a little committee that decides, makes the final recommendations for who go on the PO. So I'll try and remember to remind you, but it's usually advertised to say, could we request recommendations for people that would be appropriate to go on the PO. So it'd be definitely worth recommending Reverend Ashwell then.
Look forward to them.
Yep, but I'll try and keep an eye out for it as well for you.
Great.
Right, so has anyone got any questions for Mark in regard to any of the material that he's shown us tonight? No, all good.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark, much appreciated. History lesson never goes astray. There's always some new bits and pieces that are quite interesting there. Bernard, I believe we have a cat problem in Kihikihi.
Evening all. I've sent Ainge and Kane a bit of a message in regards to a cat problem. The other day we had 6 strays on our property, and cats are very flighty. Though one of them is getting a little bit tamed, but still not approachable. One is definitely a male, because I've observed it having a bit of a rainy session with one of the ladies. I believe there's a grandmother, mother, and 3 kittens, and of course the male. We had cats before, but they died. We always had them spayed, neutered, whichever you want to talk it. We approached council in regards to the problem, because there is an animal bylaw, but cats are excluded. Cats are animals, so are we, by the way, but so I rang around, got some information from SPCA, etc., and they were well aware of the problem in Kihikihi. And when I said where I was living, they said, yep, around Cray Street, there's around 1,000 stray cats in Kihikihi. Yep. They are trying to work on the problem. I'm not sure why the delay is, but even so. Don't get me wrong, we had cats before. So, and we do like cats, and I probably would keep 1 or perhaps even 2 after spaying or neutered them. I think it would be a bit of a help if council does a bylaw in regards to cats. I've downloaded the Whangarei and Ruapehu District Council bylaw in regards to cats, and quite easily, over 6 months, microchipped, spayed, neutered, unless, of course, they are from a breeding stock. And both of them are like that. I actually think that council, via the community board, should be looking at a bylaw, including cats, and put some rules around it. Just like I said, I don't mind keeping 1 or 2. Neighbours across the road kept 2, and other neighbours across a little bit further on kept 3. And they've done all the work on them, but they should be doing. And it's costing them major money as well. So that's one thing. Another thing I've got is, as you know, there's a lot of cul-de-sacs now in Kihikihi. The signs indicating there is no exit is the size of an A3. There are still people, trucks, everything included, wanting to go through and having to back up. Those signs have to be proper road signs with a lot larger no exit, because otherwise we're going to have the same thing all over again. So perhaps a message to Brian on that one, although I know his answer. His answer will be, we've got no money, but spend it somewhere else. And last but not least, in May last year, a guy died, motorcycle accident, outside my daughter's place on Flat Road. You guys might remember that. Kiki lad. Now, the other day, it was another accident. The guy lost it on a gravel just past their place on the way to Kiki, and he took out a big manhole on the right-hand side across from the cycleway. Right? It was, I'm not quite sure what time it was. I think it would have been in the morning, perhaps. It was after his meeting. If there would have been cyclists or walkers on the cycleway, it could have been a whole different scenario. I know it's been currently got some cones around it, etc. It is still, the big concrete one is still in a drain. So my daughter says, and she's getting quite annoyed. She's a nurse, so she was on hand last year that the guy died. It still sticks with him, big time. She says there should be probably like more, even like a barrier around that corner from Awamutu-Kihikihi outside their place or a bit further on towards McGee Road. So there's something to be contemplated.
Where are they, Bernard?
They are on the corner of where the 75k corner is, the big shed.
Yep.
It used to be run by council when they did a big sewer and upgrade in Kiki. Yeah. They've got a beautiful place there and everything else, but my daughter, she says, well, she wouldn't mind shifting. Well, that tells you something, because it's a beautiful place.
Okay, thanks for the heads up on that.
Right.
Okay, has anyone got any questions just in regard to any of those things? Lou and then Kane?
Bernard, yeah, I totally concur with you with cats. The cats, feral cats actually do a lot of damage in our community and also with their bird life and all of our flora and fauna. The problem we have is how do we actually contain or control feral cats? You can say that we can actually check the cats, and that the only cats you get are, of course, those that are under care of individuals. So you've got to distinguish between those that are feral and those that are not. The other problem we have is there's no register of all these things. To create a register, who pays for it all?
I know. I'm aware
It's
of
just a question. I'm looking as a councillor here, and the sheer cost of this is quite horrific. I totally concur with you. I had feral cats on my farm, and we destroyed them as much as we could. But they become quite prolific when you have an active tom and a few females around.
Yep.
And they have large litters, as we know. So and use hay barns, etc., as their facilities. But so I just wanted to raise that with you. There is some logistic problems with that.
Yet other councils have done a bylaw, whether it's helpful, yea or nay, I'm not sure. We used to have a dog control person called Kim McKenzie a long time ago. People might not recognise the name. He looked after dogs in Templeview, and anything running loose, they were gone. So I don't want to go to there because I actually like animals.
Yeah, but dogs are a lot easier to catch than cats.
Sure, yeah, a bit bigger as well, yeah. So.
And the other one, I totally concur with you on that corner on Flat Road. I do know that corner, and I observed it myself because I rode motorbikes a lot. So there is a damage there. They had left a lot of litter and gravel on that corner, which made it very damaging.
And the gravel caused it this time.
It is being cleaned up.
It is driver control. I should say that as well. I think he was a bit distracted, same as the guy who died last year, speeding, lost it. That's it. I mean, a lot of the accidents are driver control. But again, even so, if you can save life, and I'm more worried about the cyclists and the pedestrians as well on the cycleway, because even I use it sometimes with my bike. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernard.
Hi there, Bernard.
Bernard?
Has there been any suggestion about how, was the SPCA were going to be able to help with these 1,000 cats or all these cats? Is there any, because is there something that the community can get behind to help with that? I'm just thinking outside the box here in terms of, you know.
Yeah, there's a way of catching them, and neighbour across the road has got a cat trap which I'm going to borrow. What to do with them, I'm not sure yet, because SPCA, like PAWS or whatever they call themselves, they overloaded with cats. So what are you going to do with them? But I'm still going to catch them because, I mean, I found the rainy male again on my property today. And I'm thinking sometimes, well, yeah, I can get rid of it, but that would be illegal to do it. I did have to shoot a dog once when I was farming, but it was for different reasons. But in this case, a cat. I don't want to do that. I mean, two of the little ones are actually quite nice little ones, and one of them is getting a little bit more approachable. And I probably would keep that and spend probably $300 on it to have it fixed, etc. Because that's the cost. You know, it's a lot of money.
Okay. Well, yeah, I suggest one of us, I'm happy to do it, just follow up with the SPCA and see what this whole situation and what they can actually do about it, and just clarify that. And we'll bring that back to the next meeting or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether a bylaw would even fix anything, by the way, because it's only a piece of paper, okay?
Yeah,
it's like a
just trying to think
protection.
around
It's like a protection order in the legal sense. So,
Yeah.
but at least if there's something there, then no more than 4 cats on the property would be nice. But cats are not being owned; they do own us, where we own dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly true.
Yeah.
I have a friend that has a number of cats, and I think they spend as much time at the neighbours' houses as
Yeah,
they
I know.
do at their own. Thanks, Bernard. Some really good things there, and we'll definitely follow them up. Oh, sorry, Jill. Sorry, didn't see your hand up. Sorry, Jill.
No, I sympathise with you with the cats. I have probably 6 or 7 on my property every day, but they're not feral cats. They're all the neighbours' cats, but they'd rather be at my house. And I find it very frustrating. I have to clean up their mess every day, you know, like it's just, and for probably 30 years, wherever I've lived, there's never been bylaws. There's always been cats on my property because they like all the fresh soil and whatever. So it is frustrating. I every so often get pepper and put it around and it deters them, and just got to keep remembering to buy the pepper. But no, a shame that there isn't something. But yeah, as you say, Lou, you know, it's easy for the dogs and easy to catch them and how many dogs you're allowed, but there's no thing to say how many cats you're allowed. I would be interested to know, I will contact the other councils and just, you know, be interested to know how their bylaws work and what happens. But for me, not just the feral cats, it's all the neighbours' cats that are on my property, and I'm not an animal lover. So they get squirted with the hose or a water pistol. But this time of year, they love that, so they come back for more water. Yes. But no, I sympathise with you. Thank you.
Thanks again, Bernard, and also thanks for doing that bit of extra research about what whangarei and ruapehu do. That's really helpful. Thank you. Okay, so that's the public forum completed. So we'll move to confirmation of previous minutes on pages 9 to 18. We've got a couple run together tonight. So I'll move that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board confirms the open minutes of the meeting held 12th of November 2024 as a true and correct record of the proceedings, and the open minutes of the meeting for the 27th of November 2024 as circulated with the agenda as a true and correct record of proceedings subject to editorial amendments. Kane, Lou, all in favour? Against? Carried. Just a quick note, the amendment is that there was a slight double up that a couple of you were here, but we also had apologies. So Deb's is going to just tidy that up. So that was where the issue was. Okay, Pages 19 to 158. We have a plan change, the plan change 25 update about the shelter belts. So we'll take it that we'll receive the report of Alice Morris, Senior Policy Planner, titled Update on Draft Plan Change 25, Shelter Belts and Artificial Crop Protection Structures. So we'll move that and then we'll go to Alice for any questions and any bits that she'd like to point out. So can I have someone please to move that? John, second. Sally, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, Alice. Hello. And welcome. Is she here? Oh, she is here, but she's just a bit black. And we can't hear her either. So maybe we're not going to hear from Alice because we're not, it's not liking her currently.
Yeah, I was joking before, but.
Okay.
Should we adjourn this one?
Yeah, we might have to and see if they can fix it. Is that all right?
I'll just.
Okay, so we might,
Just going to message Kirsty and says we'll do the LTP first.
Okay,
I'll
all right.
see if Kirsty's all right to do it.
okay, we're just going to take a very little break while we sort this out. We may jump to the LTP. So we just want to check in with Kirsty first and see if it's okay to do that. And then we'll come back to Alice and hopefully we can get the connection sorted.
Through the chair, that's fine, Melissa and
I
I,
can't hear Kirsty either.
It's in the sound.
Is your sound on or off?
it's on. I think you've got an issue
No,
at
we
that.
can't hear you.
Can I hear Melissa?
Melissa, do you want to try?
Can you hear
See
me
if
all
we
right?
can- No, can't hear you either. Got no sound. All right, shall we, pardon?
So we just adjourn for I'm taking it. 5 minutes? If we just adjourn for 5
Okay.
minutes, we'll shut it all down and turn it
Back
back
on.
on again. And
Okay.
hopefully that will fix it.
Okay, all right, we'll just take a 5-minute adjournment to switch everything off and start it back up. Hopefully it'll